All right, friends, Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org. I'm streaming live, and today is what is today? It's Thursday. It's January 9th, 2025. And we are well into the most recent attack on the population. Yes, the intentional devastation of yet more people. We saw it in Lahaina. Basically, this is the Maui version of Los Angeles and Southern California. I've done some coverage for you already. And what I want to talk about are the false fire narratives. Now, I understand that there are some actual things that are happening, and I want to cover those, but I need you to be aware of these false fire narratives. And what does that mean exactly? Well, let me know what you think that means. And while you're doing that, I want to share with you my Substack, which is a type of free newsletter blog. And that is here at peggyhall.substack.com. I have a very important article for you here. It's called Palisades Fire is Not Natural. I grew up with the Santa Ana winds, and they rarely ever naturally occur in January. And if you click through here, you can also watch my video, which has several thousand views now. And I am giving you in this Substack a list of 10 factors that you can just match up. Anytime you see one of these natural disasters, you can match it up and you can say, aha, I can tick that off the box because I know that this is going to be another intentional devastation. So what I mean by the false fire narratives are those that are designed to grab the headlines, even though they may be true. They're going to take your attention and your focus and your critical thinking and your rational mind and your level-headed outlook, and they're going to hijack your emotions. And you're going to be so focused on talking about these things that actually are taking you away from the fact of the matter. And I'm just going to come right out with it. This is an intentional infliction of devastation for so many reasons. Let's do this. I'm going to share with you some of the blatant narratives, and you know right off the bat that these are false, but there are some obvious ones. We're told that, and I'm going to cover the other ones. We are told that these were natural fires. Okay, that's a false narrative. And I've covered this in well over 100 videos already. I have researched and produced and broadcast and linked for you my personal videos where I have the details, the evidence, and I give you all of the information about these intentionally microwave produced fires, how they defy the physics of fire. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, other than to affirm what you already know, that these are not natural. So that's one blatantly false narrative. We all know that these seasonal Santa Ana winds are not seasonal at all. As a lifelong Californian, and as many of you have affirmed and confirmed and validated, these Santa Ana winds, which are very dry, hot, ferocious winds, they normally would occur for a very brief period of time, a couple of days at the most. And that normally happened in late September, October, possibly even into early November, certainly never in January. So that's another blatantly false narrative. And I can tell you there's no such thing as Santa Ana winds, certainly for not this sustained period of time, and certainly not in January. There are not forest fires in January. They don't break out like that. We were told that, again, these winds were sustained over a matter of several days, and usually the wind blows itself out over a day or two. So the next obvious false narrative is that this happened because of climate change and that the planet is getting hotter and the fires are getting stronger. So if that's the case, then why didn't the public serpents, the nincompoops, the incompetent imbeciles prepare for this? I'm not buying into their narrative, but even by their own admission of, oh, it's going to be the worst fire season ever, then why didn't you prepare for it? Well, that's one of the false narratives that I'm going to expose in just one moment. So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But the narrative, another narrative that's blatantly false, is that these fires were started by an arsonist. So you're telling me that somebody had a cigarette lighter or a torch blower and they started a house on fire, because we're not seeing any of the foliage being burned. All right. We're seeing houses made out of stucco in most cases, cement and bricks, in some cases, even steel. And yes, there are some framed houses that burned as well, but we are seeing red tiled roofs, porcelain toilets obliterated, decimated to just dust particles, to sand. The ceramics don't burn, friends. You actually create glass in fire. I mean, this defies the physics of fire. You've got foliage still standing, and you've got plastic trash cans that are unmelted. You know what doesn't melt plastic? Microwave energy. There, I said it. So we're told that this fire was started by an arson. Okay, I don't believe that. And then we're told that it was started by illegal aliens. Yes, of course, because these illegals intentionally worked their way into this country, or maybe they got the red carpet by the administration that's on its way out. And they hate this country so much that they risked their lives and gave up their lives back in their own country to come here and then start people's houses on fire. Okay, that defies logic. So I'm going to eliminate this false narrative that it was an arsonist and that it was illegal aliens. That's just very strange. Now, of course, they want to fan the flames of people's dare I say, hatred toward those that are entering the country illegally, or whatever term you want to use. So yes, that feeds right into the narrative. So people have something to point at. It is a false narrative. So again, think about it. The shrubbery and the plastic items are still intact, yet houses are obliterated. Cars are basically melted. And we're told this is a natural fire. So we're told also that the planet is getting hotter and the fires are getting hotter. All right. The fires are getting hotter because they are not natural fires. This is a microwave energy that is far hotter than a natural outdoor fire. Now, these are the obvious ones. Let's take a look at some of the not so obvious false narratives. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on over to an email that came to me today. And this is from the Orange County Register. Orange County is the county just south of Los Angeles. It's my home county. Basically grew up, lived most of my life there. And this came from the very left-leaning Orange County Register. Yes, I have 18,000 emails in my inbox, and you're wondering why I don't respond to you. Okay, here we go. It is showing us the images. I'm not going to expose you to too many of these images because that is another type of trauma that I do not want to inflict. What I want to share with you are some of the narratives that are being put out there. Okay, residents are warned not to drink the water. That may be true. That's not a false narrative. I'm just showing you what is in the news. The freeways and road closures, absolutely. Here we go. How a rare windstorm whipped up LA County's catastrophic hellscape. Yes, it is catastrophic, and it is a hellscape. And it's not just happenstance, okay? The UCLA climate scientist said the strong wind event would not have produced a fire catastrophe had we gotten, say, an inch of rain in the past couple of weeks. Friends, there has been rain. Last year, we had some of the most rain on record, including the Snowmageddon, which means there was a huge snowpack, which then melts. So it talks about critical fire conditions. So this is one of the false narratives. Here's another one. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Hang on. Hear me out. Trump blames Newsom, I think is how he pronounced it, as I do, for Southern California wildfires, and governor's office pushes back. The firefighters were overwhelmed by 4 brush fires. And then, of course, we learn, let me take this off for a moment. We're going to go over to another one called the LAist, which I think they do very good reporting. They also broke all of the scandals that I was talking about with the Orange County public servants. So I looked here and they've got the Palisades fire nightmare. Again, I'm not going to do a deep dive in all the images and so forth, but I do like that they have how to keep yourself safe and looking for the foster families. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Here is one of the false narratives. What really happened with the Pacific Palisades water hydrants. All right, hydrants. Now, let me explain what I mean by the false narratives. It's true that there was no water or there was no water that was available to be used in the fire hydrants. That is a fact. The reason why I'm putting it in the category of the false narrative, hear me out, is because now the general population has something that they can pinpoint as to the reason for the massive destruction of the fire, rather than the actual and obvious to those of us who are awake true cause of the fire, which is the intentional decimation, depopulation. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. This is a warfare on the populace. All right. It's a hard fact for people to face. And I have a great deal of compassion for those who don't want to hear these things and be faced with it. Okay. For those of you that know what's going on, I want to caution you to not be carried away by these false narratives. Then the conversation becomes, well, why wasn't there water? No, the conversation is there was no water because water does not put out an electrical microwave fire. And if water had been used on these structures, it would have been apparent to those of us with the eyes to see and the knowledge of how microwave fires and these actually, it is the directed energy weapon fires start. It is a laser. And I don't have evidence I have no evidence that I saw that, but I see the aftermath. And if I am putting together the forensics, looking at the facts and the evidence that we can see, this is not the natural behavior of an outdoor fire. So if there were firemen on the scene, fire people, because DEI, that's another false narrative that I'll get to in a moment. If there had been the firefighters on the scene with fire in their hoses trying to put out these fires, it would have been clear to those of us that can see that this was not a natural fire that was being doused by water. Electrical fires cannot be put out by water. I've got a second video for you coming up this evening about the problems with these electrical vehicles when it comes to disasters like this and evacuations and their 15-minute city nightmare. So stick with me for that. But that's why you don't see water like you didn't see water in Lahaina. You didn't see it in Texas. You didn't see it in Oregon. You didn't see it in Tenerife. Because when I was growing up and there was an actual wildfire that burned foliage, combustible material. Houses are not combustible. I mean, the contents, yes, not the outside. That's why we live in them. They're fireproof structures in most cases. Then they would have these super tankers and gather the water up in buckets. We would watch it on TV and they would douse the flames with this water. Now, the next false narrative is that the winds were too strong and they couldn't fly. Oh, so you're telling me that you're going to allow all these fires to burn without at least trying to bring one of these super tankers up in the air. And from some of the eyewitness reports that I got that I'm going to share with you on Friday, that's tomorrow. I've got your stories that I'm going to be sharing on the video here on my broadcast of the winds were not that sustained. And once the fires were raging, the winds were not as strong as what we were told. So that's another false narrative. Gathering and getting everybody's attention about no water in the fire hydrants so people can talk about that. All the while, they're not talking about the actual intentional decimation and destruction on the populace. They couldn't get enough people with the cocktail. So they had to go about it this way. And they've been doing it for years. Paradise in California, Lake Tahoe, I think it was a year ago. We had San Diego some years ago. We had Greater San Diego, Fallbrook area happen. We've had Ventura County, Thousand Oaks many times, Malibu many times. It's basically decimated. Northern California, Redlands, it's happening all over the state of California again and again and again. And they're blaming it on these false narratives of global warming. At least this time I didn't hear the false narrative of the electric company being the cause. They'll probably point their fingers at that, and then the rates will go up because they'll say that they had to pay to have more hardening of the resources, and then the utility receiver, is going to be paying more. So the utility companies get richer. The insurance companies get richer because they jack up their rates. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I've got a whole list of these false narratives. So the next one that they are focusing on is that the mayor of Los Angeles was out of the country. Yes, that's true. Repeat after me. She was gone. She was MIA. Absolutely. That's not the point. It doesn't matter if she was there or not. The point is, the reason they're putting that out in the news for you to even know and see and fixate on is so that you're not going to fixate on the real cause, which is this intentional decimation of the population. Yes, I'm having a little bit of flipping my lid here. And if I can't flip my lid now, when can I? So here's another one. We're told that there were no firemen because she gutted the budget. The mayor stripped the fire department budget by 20-something million dollars. That's true. Absolutely, it's true. The reason I'm putting it in the category of a false narrative, meaning the story, the facts are true, but the narrative is what they want you to fixate on. Here's why. Because the little brains are going to say, well, if only that fire department had more money, they would have put out the fires. Really, I hate to break it to you, but that's the big N-O. That's the smoke screen, if I may use that term. That's the cover story. The cover story, these are all the cover stories. No water, no firemen, no budget, no mayor. And you're going to fixate on that and discuss it and be outraged, as you should be. Absolutely. Not to the detriment of you missing the greater point, which it doesn't matter if there were $1 billion in the fire department. It doesn't matter if there was water gushing out of every single fire hydrant. It doesn't matter if the mayor herself was riding around on the fire truck like Kramer in Seinfeld, if you ever saw that TV show. None of that matters. The destruction still would have been the same. Now they have several perfect cover stories for the gullible people to swallow, to say, well, that's why the fires burnt so bad. That's why it was so bad. That's why the fires were out of control. No, the fires were out of control because they were unnatural fires intentionally designed for maximum destruction so that they could decimate the economy. They could destroy people's morale. They could get rid of their livelihood. They could make people move out of the state because they're not going to be able to afford insurance or homes. They're not able to keep their businesses going. So it's a massive scale of depopulation, clearing the way literally for the land grab. Even that is another cover story. Yes, the Olympics are in 2028. Yes, they want to have LA's smart city. Absolutely, they do. That is another way to fixate. And actually, for those that are awake would understand that that's one of the reasons why they did it. But all of these stories are being pushed in the media, in the mainstream media, so that people will not actually focus on the sad truth of we are in a war. And unfortunately, we're not the ones that have weapons. They do. And they do have weapons. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I know that my savvy, sophisticated, smart, supportive, healthy Americans will give you a clue in the comments. All right. So all of these facts are actually distracting you from the truth. So, right. No water. We know it was turned off intentionally. And people are also fixated on the ineptitude of Newsome, the guy that's trying to pass himself off as the governor, his little duper's delight as he walked into the press concert where he was performing and trying to, feel empathy for those who were suffering. Yes, it's true. California sent fire resources to the Ukraine, at least as far as I can tell. It's another cover story to take all of the people's outrage and direct it toward the governor, toward the mayor, toward the fire department. Yes, it's true that the fire chief is LGBTQ LMNOP. Live your life. Don't interfere in mine. But the fact that she, I can't remember, wanted the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yes, absolutely, that harms the fire department. All of this was set in place so that there would be an easy, convenient answer as to why these fires were so destructive. Don't fall for the false narratives. I'm going to keep repeating that. Yes, that's a fact, but not a fact to be fixated on. The fact to be fixated on is that these were intentionally inflicted upon the unsuspecting population. So all of these things detract from the actual fact that the government basically is undertaking a massive genocide. It's a hard act to swallow. I said it. I'll probably get a strike on this channel. This is an intentional act of terrorism, in my view. I know it's difficult to fathom that the government could be so evil. It's not difficult for me because I've seen it again and again. I mean, you've never been wronged. Come on. You don't think people seek power and control? Those who serve evil want to destroy all that is good, including you, your work, your home, your family, your pets, your belongings. And they don't want you to have belongings, as a matter of fact. So now I don't know if it was the smart meters in each person's home where the switch was flipped and boom, the explosion started. I would love to see video of these fires starting inside the home, because that's the only conclusion that I can draw. That something inside the home started these houses on fire. That's where the combustible material is. Combustible means it can burn, right? Stucco doesn't burn. Red tiled roofs don't burn. Porcelain toilets don't burn. Brick fireplaces don't burn. That's why you can have a fire in the fireplace. Yet we're seeing that these are obliterated by an outdoor fire? No, something occurred which is not natural. All of these other narratives, which may be true, are distractions. And that's why I am putting them in the category of a false narrative. The other thing I want to say is a lot of people in California fell for the whole climate thing, and they ripped out all of their beautiful oxygen giving lawns that are good for the planet. And they put in rocks and cactus and that kind of stuff that doesn't burn. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. What exactly caught on fire, I ask? Certainly not the trees, because they're still standing. The trash cans didn't melt. Explain me that one. I mean, come on. It's not a laughing matter. It's absolutely mortifying and heinous. So there was not a lot of flammable material in terms of these houses catching on fire at such a wide extent. I shared a video with you some time ago, back when I did, I think, the California fires. Remember, I've done well over 100 videos breaking down these fires in great detail. And I showed someone was building a house, and it was in a row of new construction. And they sat there with their video camera as that house burned for about 40 minutes. 40 minutes, one home made out of sticks. None of the adjacent homes caught on fire for 40 minutes. And you're telling me that these fires are going to whip through, like they did in Lahaina, burning non-combustible material. This is what the media wants you to believe. This is why they constantly show you the images of the unmelted trash cans. They don't even mention it. They just show it to you. There's something going on with shoes too. They're showing images of shoes. Shoes have a very occult symbolism. And, you know, Trump mentioned shoes, and every time there's an orchestrated event, they talk about losing their shoes or going barefoot. And so there's something weird about the shoes being shown in these images as well. I'm doing some research on that. Let me know if you have any way to connect the clots on that one. Email me, support@thehealthyamerican.org. So it is clear that there is a land grab going on, that these cities are going to be rebuilt, burn back better, as I've coined it. Yes, there is a book by the same title. I'm glad I couldn't have inspired the title. You know, I don't even think we should have the Olympics. They're so demonic anyway. And looking at the logo that they have, I'll have to do another video for you on that. It's the Masonic, what's that called? Measurement. And the square and the compass from the Freemasons. So that is the A in the LA. So they're not even hiding it, friends. The demonic occult Olympics that I am not going to participate in anymore. I can't stand seeing all of the men dressed up like women. And I'm not talking about the boxers. I'm talking about the gymnasts and the swimmers and others. That's a topic for another day. But the point is, the Olympics are coming to Southern California in 2028. I attended the Olympics in 1984 when they were in Los Angeles. I watched a couple of events there back before I was awake. So I think those Olympics should be done away with anyway. But the point is, this is not normal fire behavior. So stick with me. I've got a second video for you coming up, all about the hypocrisy of pushing for these electric vehicles and public transportation in these 15-minute smart cities, especially in light of these intentional disasters. So friends, I ask, rein it in. If you find that you're becoming obsessed, you can't sleep at night, you're overwhelmed with emotional trauma and turmoil. That's exactly what the bad guys want. So do what you can, pray, be prepared, live each day fully and freely. That's really the one thing that I think of is honoring God in what I do, living each day. So if that day comes when we are the next under the in the target, we can say that we fully lived. I really have nothing more to offer on that. I don't know personally how to fight back against these weapons. Do you? I don't want to live in fear. In fact, I want to empower you, which is part of the reason I come on here to bring you these messages, to let you know that you're not going crazy, so that you're not feeling like you're being gaslit and the wool is being pulled over your eyes. I see what you do. And I think it's very empowering to know that there are others that see it too. That's why I'm here. All right, friends, I will take a look at your comments after I do my, let's take a look who we've got here. Please be sure to share this video, get on my free Substack. Yes, our friend SOHC says that the shoe thing is weird. The Red Shoes Club, thank you for that. There is a lot of weird stuff about shoes. I went down a rabbit hole today, something about the Talmud and the Jewish interpretation of the importance of shoes. I'll just give you the quick overview that whoever has the shoes is the one that is in power and possession. So leaving the shoes could be a calling card, for example, like staking your claim would be another way to describe it, like planting the flag, like I claimed this area. Why in the non-spinning world, out of everything that they could show, I'll see if I can find that clip for you, maybe in an upcoming video, where the newscaster says, oh, look, all that's left here is a bike and a pair of shoes. Let me know if you saw that video. It's a blue bicycle. There are unmelted trash cans right next to it. I doubt anybody rolled up some trash cans in the middle of it all after the devastation. And they're pointing out a pair of shoes. That to me really strikes of symbolism. I don't like it. I don't care for it. I want to dig deeper. What I have found so far is the shoes are a powerful symbol of the conqueror, and those who are shoeless are the slaves. Let me know if you heard of that, if you read about that. It's research that I just stumbled upon. All right, friends, stick with me because I've got another video coming up. As you can see, I'm not sharing with you outrageous images. I want you to guard yourself from this. Those are done intentionally to wear you down, to harm you, to traumatize you. Watching those images being glued to the TV helps no one, especially not you. You are feeding their evil. All right, a little tough love for you here, friends. My goal is to help you feel better so that you can read between the lies and not feel as though you are having the wool pulled over your eyes. All right, friends, give me a couple of minutes to queue up my next video, and I'll be right with you where we're going to talk about the hypocrisy of the powers that shouldn't be telling you to ride your bikes and take public transportation and drive electric cars. Yeah, how well would that have turned out in this kind of evacuation? What say you? I say them are pretty rotten apples.